While everyone watched Ukraine's resistance, a nation of just 4 million people quietly became Europe's next military superpower. Croatia now plans to spend 5% of GDP on defense by 2035, more than most global powers. But there's one shocking detail that changes everything about European security. Croatia wasn't always this ambitious. 30 years ago, this same country fought tooth and nail just to exist. The Croatian War of Independence from 1991 to 1995 forged one of Europe's most battle-hardened militaries from what commanders called a ragtag yet determined coalition. They faced impossible odds but emerged victorious. Then something strange happened. Success bred complacency. After NATO membership in 2009 and EU accession in 2013, Croatia did what every war-weary nation does. It relaxed. Defense budgets were slashed. Stockpiles dwindled. The military transformed from a combat force into a peacekeeping operation. Guns were oiled less frequently. Soldiers trained for blue helmet missions, not warfare. Croatia bet everything on one assumption: peace was permanent. But here's what nobody saw coming. February 24th, 2022. Russian tanks rolled across Ukraine's border, and European capitals asked the same terrifying question: are we ready? In Zagreb, Defense Minister Mario Banožić gave the most honest answer in Europe: no, but we're working on it. That admission triggered the most dramatic military transformation in Croatian history. Why? Because Croatia knows something most European nations forgot. They've seen what happens when stability collapses. They've lived through ethnic cleansing, siege warfare, and international abandonment. The question wasn't whether they should militarize. It was whether they could do it fast enough. And the numbers will shock you. Croatia's defense spending didn't just increase, it exploded. A 22.2% surge in 2024, followed by another 18.2% jump in 2025. But those percentages hide the real story. Croatia's military budget nearly doubled in 3 years, from $1.1 billion to over $2 billion annually. That's more than some African countries' entire national budgets. But here's what makes this spending spree truly remarkable. Nearly 29% of their defense budget now goes to modernization. NATO requires just 20%. Croatia is voluntarily exceeding alliance standards by almost 50%. The shopping list reads like a military fantasy come to life. 12 cutting-edge Rafale fighter jets completely replaced their Soviet-era MiGs that were literally falling apart. The first 6 arrived in April 2024, and Croatian pilots describe the capability gap as like upgrading from a bicycle to a Ferrari. These aren't just any jets. They're the same aircraft that made France a global military power, equipped with Meteor air-to-air missiles that can engage targets at 150-kilometer ranges. The old MiG-21s, they had a maximum engagement range of 15 kilometers. On the ground, 50 Leopard 2A8 main battle tanks are rolling off German production lines destined for Croatian armored units. These aren't your grandfather's tanks. They feature advanced fire control systems, modular armor protection, and digital battlefield management systems that can coordinate with NATO forces in real time. 89 Bradley M2A2 infantry fighting vehicles already patrol Croatian bases, replacing Soviet-era BMPs that were older than the soldiers operating them. Each Bradley can transport 9 fully equipped soldiers while providing suppressive fire through its 25mm chain gun and Tau anti-tank missiles. HIMARS rocket artillery systems provide precision strike capabilities out to 300 kilometers, far enough to hit targets in neighboring countries if necessary. Bayraktar TB2 drones, the same ones devastating Russian positions in Ukraine, now bear Croatian insignia and can loiter over battlefields for 24-hour surveillance missions. But here's the twist nobody expected. Germany gave Croatia a massive discount on those Leopard tanks. Why? Because Croatia agreed to transfer their old Soviet equipment directly to Ukraine's military. Croatia literally armed Ukraine while rearming themselves with Western technology. The personnel transformation runs even deeper than hardware upgrades. Military conscription returns in 2025. But here's the surprising part. Voluntary service interest surged 113% in 2024. Young Croatians are volunteering for military service at rates not seen since the Independence War. Why the sudden enthusiasm? Because nothing makes national defense feel urgent like watching Russian artillery destroy Ukrainian apartment buildings on social media. Military salaries increased 40% across all ranks. Career advancement programs were completely restructured. Housing allowances, education benefits, and family support programs now rival those of major corporations. Croatia learned that modern militaries require professional soldiers, not conscripted civilians counting days until discharge. Training doctrines were revolutionized overnight. Out went Soviet-era manuals that emphasized massed formations and centralized command. In came NATO standards focusing on small unit tactics, joint operations, and rapid decision-making at lower command levels. Croatian forces now train in cyber warfare, space-based reconnaissance, and electronic warfare, domains that didn't exist during their independence war, but are crucial for modern conflicts. And this is where it gets really interesting. Croatia plans to spend 2.5% of GDP on defense by 2027, then 3% by 2030. But here's that shocking detail I promised earlier. They're targeting 5% by 2035. Let me put that in perspective. The United States, the world's dominant military power, spends 3.5% of GDP on defense. China spends 1.7%. Germany struggles to reach 2%. Croatia, a country smaller than West Virginia, wants to outspend them all proportionally. This isn't just military expansion, it's strategic repositioning. Croatia signed fresh defense partnerships with Albania and Kosovo in 2025. They're leading NATO missions in Poland, Lithuania, and Hungary. Croatian forces patrol the Mediterranean in Operation Sea Guardian. They've transformed from a quiet NATO member into what military analysts call a proactive security player. The defense industry comeback tells an even bigger story. Croatia is reviving domestic ammunition production, developing drone technology, and forming strategic partnerships with American and European defense giants. They're not just buying weapons, they're building the infrastructure to make them. But there's a question that keeps European strategists awake at night. Will this military renaissance stabilize the Balkans or destabilize them? Croatia's neighbors are watching nervously. A militarily powerful Croatia could either serve as a regional security anchor or reawaken old ethnic rivalries. Serbian officials have already expressed concern about Croatian military expansion. Yet Croatia's response reveals their true motivation. Defense Minister Banojic put it simply, "We know what instability looks like. We've lived it, and we won't let it return to our neighborhood." This isn't about aggression, it's about responsibility. Croatia learned the hardest lesson in modern European history. When chaos erupts, international help arrives too late. The United Nations watched Srebrenica happen. Croatia's military comeback isn't just about defense spending or fancy equipment. It's about a small nation refusing to be a victim of history twice. From battlefield survivor to regional powerhouse in 3 decades. That's not just impressive, it's unprecedented. The next 5 years will determine whether Croatia becomes Europe's newest security pillar or triggers a Balkan arms race. Either way, the lion is awake, and Europe will never be the same. What do you think? Is Croatia's military buildup necessary security or dangerous overreach? Drop your thoughts below, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell for more shocking military developments that mainstream media won't tell you.